In the year 2000, Enron Corporation was the seventh largest company in America. Its stock was trading near $90 a share. Fortune magazine had just named it the most innovative company in America for the sixth year in a row. Its executives had friendships with U.S. presidents. Its name was on a Major League Baseball stadium in Houston. Wall Street analysts couldn't say enough good things about it. 1 year later, it was gone. Not declining, not restructuring, gone. The largest bankruptcy in American history at the time. $60 billion in assets. Evaporated. Thousands of employees watched their retirement savings, every penny they had invested in Enron stock, go to zero in a matter of weeks. And the people who did it? They called themselves the smartest guys in the room. This is the story of how Enron fooled the entire world and what happened when the lies finally caught up with them. To understand the Enron scandal, you first need to understand just how impressive Enron appeared to be. Founded in 1985 by Kenneth through the merger of two natural gas companies, Enron began as a straightforward energy business, running pipelines, delivering gas to customers across America. But in the 1990s, everything changed. Hired a brilliant and aggressive consultant named Jeffrey Skilling, and Skilling had a vision that would transform Enron completely. Instead of just moving energy through pipes, Skilling wanted Enron to trade energy like a financial asset, buy and sell gas contracts, electricity futures, weather derivatives, anything that could be turned into a tradable instrument. It was a revolutionary idea, and it worked. Under Skilling's leadership, Enron became the dominant player in energy trading, handling such a massive volume of contracts that it essentially became the middleman for how America bought and sold electricity and gas. By the late 1990s, Enron's revenues were growing at staggering speed. The company was expanding into broadband, water, steel. Seemingly every industry it touched turned to gold. Wall Street loved it. Analysts gave it the highest possible ratings. Investors piled in. But here's what nobody on the outside could see. Behind the dazzling growth numbers, behind the confident earnings calls and the glossy annual reports, Enron was hiding something enormous, something that, if it ever came to light, would bring the whole empire crashing down. The secret at the heart of Enron was an accounting trick so complex that even most financial professionals didn't fully understand it. It started with something called mark-to-market accounting. Normally, a company records revenue when it actually receives money. Simple. But Enron convinced regulators to let it use a different method, one where it could book the estimated future profits of a contract the moment it was signed, regardless of whether that money ever actually arrived. Sign a 20-year energy contract today, book all 20 years of projected profits right now. On paper, it looked like explosive growth. In reality, much of it was imaginary. And when the actual results didn't match the projections, Enron hid the losses. This is where Andrew Fastow came in, a financial genius with a talent for complexity. Fastow constructed an elaborate web of off-balance sheet entities, shell companies with names like LJM and the Raptors, that existed for one purpose: to absorb Enron's losses so they never appeared on the company's financial statements. Billions of dollars in bad investments, failed projects, mounting debt, all of it quietly transferred into these shadow entities, invisible to investors, invisible to the board, invisible to the auditors. And the auditors? That was Arthur Andersen, one of the most prestigious accounting firms in the world. Andersen didn't just miss the fraud. According to later investigations, it was warned about the risks and chose to look the other way, pressured by the enormous fees Enron was paying it. From the outside, Enron looked like a miracle company. From the inside, it was a machine designed to generate the appearance of profits while hiding a growing mountain of debt. And for years, it worked perfectly. The beginning of the end came from an unexpected place. In March 2001, a Fortune magazine reporter named Bethany McLean published a now-famous article with a simple, devastating question: is Enron overpriced? McLean had looked at Enron's financial statements and noticed something troubling. Despite all the talk of massive profits, the company's cash flow told a very different story. She couldn't figure out how Enron actually made her money. The article was dismissed by Enron's executives. Skilling called it unethical journalism. The company's PR machine went into overdrive. But the seed of doubt had been planted. Then, in August 2001, something happened that would accelerate everything. Jeffrey Skilling, the architect of Enron's trading empire, the man who had been named CEO just 6 months earlier, abruptly resigned. He cited personal reasons. Inside Enron, a vice president named Sharon Watkins knew exactly what was happening. She wrote an anonymous letter to founder Ken Lay, warning that Enron could implode in a wave of accounting scandals. She met with Lay in person and laid out the problems in detail. Lay did nothing. By October 2001, Enron could no longer contain the bleeding. The company announced a $618 million third-quarter loss and disclosed a $1.2 billion reduction in shareholder equity. The SEC launched a formal investigation. The stock, which had been trading above $90 just a year earlier, began its final collapse. By November 2001, it was trading at less than $1. On December 2, 2001, Enron filed for bankruptcy. At the time, it was the largest bankruptcy in American history. The smartest guys in the room had run out of room. The human cost of Enron's collapse was devastating. 20,000 employees lost their jobs, and because Enron had encouraged its workers to invest their retirement savings in company stock while executives were quietly selling their own shares, thousands of ordinary people lost everything they had saved for retirement. The stock options and pension funds that employees had been counting on for decades, gone. The executives who had sold their shares before the collapse, they walked away with millions. Arthur Andersen, the accounting firm that had signed off on Enron's financial statements for years, was indicted for obstruction of justice after shredding thousands of documents related to its Enron audit. The firm, one of the most prestigious in the world with 85,000 employees, ceased operations within months, an entire institution destroyed. The legal fallout was massive. 22 people were convicted for their roles in the fraud. Andrew Fastow pled guilty and sentenced to 10 years in prison. He surrendered $30 million and agreed to testify against his former bosses. Kenneth was convicted of all 6 counts of fraud and conspiracy. He died of a heart attack in July 2006 before he could be sentenced. Jeffrey Skilling was convicted of 19 counts of fraud, conspiracy, and insider trading. He was sentenced to 24 years in prison, later reduced to 14, and was released in 2019. And in Washington, Congress passed the Sarbanes-Oxley Act, sweeping new regulations requiring CEOs and CFOs to personally certify the accuracy of their financial statements, with criminal penalties for false certifications. Enron didn't just destroy itself, it changed the rules of American business. More than 20 years later, the Enron scandal still has things to teach us. On the surface, it looks like a story about accounting tricks and corporate greed, and it is, but there's something deeper here. Enron's executives didn't start out planning to commit fraud. The evidence suggests they started with genuine ambition, a real belief that they were building something revolutionary. But somewhere along the way, they made a choice. When the results didn't match the story they were telling, instead of admitting failure, they decided to hide it, and then hide the hiding, and then build an entire parallel financial universe designed to make the lie look like the truth. The whistleblower who tried to stop it, Sharon Watkins, was ignored. The journalist who asked the right questions, Bethany McLean, was attacked. The auditors who should have caught it, Arthur Andersen, chose the fees over the truth.
Andy Fastow, who orchestrated the fraud and later became a speaker on corporate ethics, put it this way. He believes fraud in corporate America is 10 times worse today than it was during Enron's time. Not because the tools of fraud have changed, but because the incentives haven't. Because when the pressure to meet Wall Street expectations is intense enough, when the rewards for success are enormous enough, and when the consequences of admitting failure seem too terrible to face, people make choices they never imagined they would make. Enron wasn't built by monsters. It was built by people who convinced themselves that what they were doing was justified, that it was temporary, that they'd fix it later. They never got the chance. Enron changed American business forever, but the patterns it revealed keep showing up in the scandals we cover every week on this channel. From Madoff to Lehman to FTX, the same story,